Lieutenant, on your knees. Prove you belong. The dining area goes silent. 40 Navy SEALs stop eating and look toward the fight happening near the center tables. Lieutenant Jade Monroe stands still, holding her tray with both hands. Her eyes look down at Commander Rick Dalton's shiny boots. The bright lights buzz above her head, making dark shadows across her calm face. She's 28 years old, has brown skin, and military-style short hair. A small scar shows on her jawline. Everything about her looks like an office worker. Neat uniform, few medals, the type of lieutenant who does paperwork while others do field work. Dalton leans back in his chair with his arms crossed. A smile appears at the corners of his mouth. He's 42, has a thick chest and grey hair on his jaw. He's the kind of commander who controls every room he walks into. His team watches, some laughing, some looking uncomfortable. This isn't the first time Dalton has made an example of someone. It won't be the last. Jade puts her tray down on the closest table. She moves slowly and carefully. Her pointer finger naturally rests along the edge of the plastic tray, not grabbing it, but guiding it. It's a small thing, barely noticeable, but in the far corner of the room, Senior Chief Nate Garrett notices. He's 53, has a weathered face, and eyes that have seen 30 years of Navy work. He pushes the man next to him and whispers something no one else can hear over the sound of forks hitting plates. Jade kneels. No waiting, no arguing. She pulls a napkin from her pocket and starts wiping dust from Dalton's right boot. The room fills with laughing, some nervous, some really entertained. Dalton's smile gets bigger. He moves his foot a little, making her change her position. That's more like it, he says loud enough for everyone to hear. Maybe now you'll understand how things work here. We don't need office workers. We need field operators. Jade keeps working quietly, but her breathing follows a clear pattern. 4 seconds breathing in through her nose, 4 seconds holding it, 4 seconds breathing out. The rhythm is so quiet that most people wouldn't notice it. Garrett notices it. His eyebrows pull together in confusion. He's seen that breathing method before, but not from paperwork people. Not from officers who spend their days managing supplies and worker files. When she finishes, Jade stands up, folds the napkin, and puts it carefully in the trash can near the wall. She gets her tray, picks an empty table in the back corner, and sits down to eat like nothing happened. Her hands are steady. Her face shows nothing. Around her, talking slowly starts again, but eyes keep looking at her. Was she right to stay quiet, or should she have fought back right away? Drop your opinion below, and if you want justice, hit that subscribe button. Garrett waits until fewer people are around before walking to her table. He doesn't sit, just stands there holding his coffee, looking at her face. You prior service? He asks quietly. Jade looks up, chews slowly, swallows. Office track, Senior Chief, 3 years at Boopers, that right? It's not really a question. Garrett's voice suggests he doesn't completely believe her. You know the range cold rules? Weapon condition 4, chamber and magazine clear. Bolt forward, safety on. Rangemaster calls cold before anyone crosses the line. The answer comes immediately. No waiting. No thinking needed. Garrett nods slowly. Good to know, he says, then walks away. Jade goes back to her meal, but her eyes follow him across the room. For just a moment, the mask drops. There's thinking there. You're sizing things up, the look of someone measuring distances and exits. Then it's gone, replaced by the blank look expected from young officers trying to survive their first assignment at a SEAL training base. The rest of dinner passes without problems. Jade finishes, cleans her tray, and walks outside into the warm evening air. The base is slowing down for the night, with lights turning on across the big area. She walks toward the office building, hands in pockets, looking relaxed. But her path goes past the obstacle course, past the shooting range, past the motor pool. She's remembering routes, buildings, and worker patterns. Her eyes never stop moving. Inside her temporary room, a small space in the visitor barracks, she sits on the edge of the bed and carefully peels back the medical tape wrapped around her left wrist. Under it, a pressure bandage. Under that, the edge of something dark. She presses the tape back down, then lies back fully dressed, staring at the ceiling. Sleep comes quickly, the kind of practiced rest that doesn't need comfort. Only control. Morning comes at 5:30. Jade is already awake, already dressed, already running around the edge of the base. Most of the area is still dark. She passes groups of SEALs doing their own exercise, gets a few curious looks, ignores them all. Her speed is steady, controlled, not trying to impress anyone. At the 6-mile point, she stops at a water fountain near the training building. Captain Elias Ward is there filling his bottle. When she walks up, she comes to a sharp stop and stands at attention. Ward is 38, thin, wearing the quiet badge of an intelligence officer. His eyes are sharp, always judging. He looks at her, notices the office rank on her collar, the lack of warfare badges, the regulation, everything. "It is, Lieutenant," he says. "You always run this early?" "Yes, sir, habit." "Good habit." He caps his bottle but doesn't leave. "You settling in okay?" "I heard there was a problem at dinner." "No problem, sir. Just learning how things work." Ward's face doesn't change, but something in his body language shifts. "He's reading her the same way Garrett did, trying to match what he's seeing with what he expects." "Right," he says slowly. "Well, if you need anything, my office is in Building 7. Open door." "Appreciate it, sir." He leaves. Jade waits until he's out of sight, then continues her run. But the meeting stays with her. Ward is intelligence. Intelligence officers notice things. She'll need to be more careful. The day goes through boring office work. Jade reports to her assigned office, a cramped space she shares with 2 other junior officers who treat her with polite distance. Her jobs include processing training records, updating worker files, and managing equipment orders. It's mind-numbing work, exactly what everyone expects from a paperwork lieutenant. She does it perfectly. At 11 odd, her phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. She opens it and sees a photo of herself kneeling, wiping Dalton's boot. The words say, "When office workers try to play soldier." It's been sent to the base group chat, visible to over 200 workers. Within minutes, her phone explodes with messages. Laughing emojis, mocking comments, a few weak defenses that get shouted down. Jade reads through them all without showing emotion, then mutes the chat and goes back to work. Across the office, one of her co-workers looks at his own phone, laughs quietly, and looks at her. She looks back at him. He looks away first. Lunch is different! When Jade enters the dining hall, conversations get quieter by several levels. She gets in line, receives her food, turns to find a seat. Every table she walks to suddenly has no room. People shifting to close gaps, avoiding eye contact. She ends up eating standing near the trash cans, her tray balanced on a narrow shelf. Dalton walks past at one point and doesn't look at her. His team follows, several of them smiling. The afternoon brings her first real job beyond paperwork. She's assigned to count items in the equipment storage building, a huge warehouse filled with training gear, safety equipment, ropes, harnesses, and climbing tools. It's supposed to take 2 days. Jade completes it in 4 hours. Her counts are exact, her organization perfect. The supply sergeant is impressed despite himself. "You've done this before," he says. "Standard steps, Sergeant. Just following the list." "Yeah, but most officers can't tell a carabiner from a quick link," Jade shrugs. "I read the manual. It's a lie. She knows this equipment the way a surgeon knows their tools. By touch, by weight, by the specific click of parts connecting. But she doesn't show that knowledge. She just follows the list exactly as expected. At 4 she's called to the obstacle course. Dalton is there with his team running drills. He sees her coming and raises a hand, stopping the exercise. "Lieutenant Monroe," he calls out. "Perfect timing. We need someone to test the rope climb. Safety rules require an officer to approve it before we can use it for tomorrow's test. It's not standard procedure." Jade knows this, but she also knows that saying no will give Dalton more ammunition. She walks to the bottom of the 40-foot tower and looks at the rope. Something's wrong. The anchor point shows fresh scratches, and the rope itself has an almost invisible twist 3/4 of the way up. A kink that could cause terrible failure under full body weight. "Problem, Lieutenant?" Dalton's voice carries amusement. Jade walks around the tower, checking the backup ropes, the safety nets, the crash pads. All of them are positioned slightly off-center, not enough to be obvious, but enough to be useless if someone falls. This isn't carelessness. This is sabotage. She returns to the main rope and makes a show of pulling it, testing its strength at ground level. Then she looks directly at Dalton. "Rope's good, sir, but the anchor needs a safety inspection before anyone climbs." Rule 372 requires engineering approval on any fixed training equipment. Dalton's smile drops a little. I'm the training officer, Lieutenant. I don't need a paperwork person telling me the rules. Not telling, sir. Just quoting. If something happens and there's no engineering signature, the investigation comes back to whoever approved the climb. The meaning is clear. Dalton can push her all he wants, but if someone gets hurt, his career is over. He stares at her for a long moment, then waves a hand. Fine, we'll get engineering out here. Waste of time, but whatever makes you feel important. Jade nods and turns to leave. As she walks away, she hears one of Dalton's team members say, "Safety Sally strikes again." Laughter follows. She doesn't react. That evening, engineering does inspect the tower. They find the anchor not tight enough and the rope attached wrong. The equipment is taken offline while they investigate. Jade isn't there to see it, but word spreads quickly. Opinions split. Some see her as smart, protecting against problems. Others see her as worried for no reason, hurting training. Dalton's story that she's a rule follower who doesn't understand field work gains support. By the time she gets back to her room, the group chat has moved from making fun of her boot cleaning to questioning whether she knows what she's doing. Someone suggests she might have made up the safety problem to look useful. Someone else wonders if she's ever even been in the field. The agreement forms. She's an office worker in over her head, trying to stay important by creating problems. Jade lies in bed scrolling through the messages, her face lit by the pale glow of her phone screen. She reads every comment, remembers every name. Then she sets the phone aside, adjusts the bandage on her wrist, and closes her eyes. Tomorrow will be worse. She's counting on it. The next morning starts with a formation. Everyone must attend, full uniform. Jade stands in the back row, eyes forward, as the base commander gives routine announcements, training schedules, safety reminders, upcoming inspection. Then Dalton steps forward. One more thing, he says, looking across the formation. We've had some concerns raised about training equipment. Concerns that turned out to be wrong. Engineering cleared the obstacle course tower. No problems. So for anyone who might have gotten the wrong idea yesterday, trust your training officers. We know what we're doing. It's a purposeful twist. Engineering found multiple problems, but Dalton's version suggests Jade overreacted and wasted everyone's time. She doesn't correct him, doesn't defend herself, just stands there taking the weight of 100 stares. After formation, Garrett stops her on the way to her office. You did the right thing, he says quietly. Those anchor bolts were loose. Could have killed someone. I know, Senior Chief. Then why aren't you speaking up? Dalton's making you look like you don't know what you're doing. Jade meets his eyes. Maybe I don't know what I'm doing, Senior Chief. Maybe I'm just a paperwork person who got lucky. Garrett studies her face, trying to understand what he's looking at. Then he shakes his head. No, he says softly. You're something else. I just can't figure out what. He walks away, leaving Jade standing alone in the morning sun. She watches him go, then continues to her office, where another day of boring paperwork waits. But now there's an edge to the boredom. People are watching her differently, not just with hate, but with suspicion. Dalton has successfully painted her as someone who creates problems where none exist. It's exactly what she needs. At 1 Kong, she gets called to Dalton's office. She arrives exactly on time, knocks, enters when told. Dalton sits behind his desk, arms crossed, face serious. Lieutenant Monroe, he begins. I'm concerned about how you're fitting in here. You've been with us a week, and already there have been multiple problems. The equipment complaint, the social media thing, reports that you're not getting along with your co-workers. I wasn't aware getting along was part of my job. Sir, don't be smart. His voice gets harder. This is a close group. We rely on each other. If you can't work as part of the team, I'll have to question whether you're right for this assignment. Jade says nothing. Dalton leans forward. I've looked at your file. Office worker, no field work, no deployments. You know what that tells me? It tells me you're here because someone in Washington thinks we need more diversity in leadership. Well, I don't care what they think. I care about getting the mission done, and right now you're a distraction. Understood, sir, is it? He opens a folder and slides a paper across the desk. This is a transfer request. I'm recommending you be moved to a job more suited to your skills, somewhere that doesn't require field understanding. Jade picks up the paper and reads it. It's professionally written, talking about her inability to fit into the training environment, her over-focus on rules, her lack of field experience. It's also completely within Dalton's power to submit. She sets it down carefully. When does this go through, sir? Waiting for final approval. 30 days. Unless you'd like to resign now and save everyone the paperwork. I'll stay the 30 days, sir. Finish my assigned jobs. Dalton's face suggests he expected more resistance. Suit yourself. Dismissed. Jade leaves his office, walks directly to Building 7, and asks for a meeting with Captain Ward. She's told he's unavailable. Currently off base for a classified briefing, won't return until tomorrow evening. She thanks the office worker and leaves. Outside, the base continues its rhythm. SEALs running drills, helicopters landing and taking off, the constant background noise of military work. Jade walks to the motor pool, supposedly to arrange vehicle maintenance schedules, but really, she's mapping exit points, blind spots, places where security cameras don't quite reach. Her movements look aimless, office-like, boring. They're anything but. That afternoon, she's assigned to watch a shooting exercise on the range. It's meant to be an easy job. Stand at the watching point, count people, make sure safety rules are followed. Simple, until Dalton decides to make it complicated. Lieutenant, he calls out as the exercise begins. Why don't you join us on the line? Get a feel for what we actually do here. It's a test. Jade has claimed she's pure office worker, no field experience. Yet she quoted range rules with suspicious accuracy the other night. If she refuses, she looks weak. If she accepts and handles a weapon well, her cover story starts to break. She walks to the firing line and accepts the rifle offered to her, M4 carbine, standard issue. She does a brass check, chamber empty, then accepts a magazine, puts it in, loads around, flips the safety on. The movements are mechanical, by the book, exactly what any officer should know. They're also just slightly too smooth, the muscle memory of someone who's done this thousands of times. Range is hot, the range master announces. Fire when ready. Jade takes a standing position, brings the weapon to her shoulder, breathes, 4 seconds in, 4 seconds hold, 4 seconds out. She lines up her target, a silhouette at 50 meters, and squeezes the trigger. The rifle kicks. The round hits center mass. She fires again. Same result. Again. 5 rounds, 5 hits, tight grouping. Behind her, Dalton watches with narrow eyes. Not bad for someone who's never deployed. Jade makes the weapon safe, takes out the magazine, does a brass check. Basic shooting is part of officer training, sir. Just because I haven't deployed doesn't mean I can't shoot. True, Dalton admits, but usually there's more hesitation. You handled that weapon like you've done it many times? I follow instructions, sir. The rangemaster was clear. It's a dodge and they both know it. But Jade offers nothing more. She returns the rifle to the armory, signs the log, and goes back to her watching post. The rest of the exercise goes without problems, but she can feel Dalton's attention on her, weighing, thinking. Do you think Dalton knows who she really is? Comment your theory, and don't forget to like if you're Team Jade. By late afternoon, Jade gets a notification. A formal complaint has been filed against her. Failure to follow proper chain of command, specifically going to engineering without telling the training officer first. It's petty, but it's also documented, another mark against her record. She reads through the complaint in her office, notes the signature at the bottom. Commander Rick Dalton. Then she saves a copy to her personal files and deletes the notification. Dinner that night is another exercise in being alone. Jade eats by herself again, this time at an outdoor table far from the main building. The evening is warm, the sky turning orange and purple as the sun sets behind the distant mountains. She's almost finished when Garrett walks up carrying his own tray. Mind if I sit? He asks, Free country, Senior Chief. He sits on the bench across from her and unwraps his sandwich. For a while, they eat in silence. Then Garrett speaks. I ran into a guy last year, he says casually. Old instructor from Coronado. We got to talking about training exercises, close calls, the usual war stories. He told me about this one time during a 4-man rescue drill somewhere overseas, classified location. The drill went wrong. Equipment failure, communication breakdown. One of the team members went down hard. Should have been a disaster. Jade keeps eating. but her hand pauses slightly. But someone on the team, Garrett continues, stayed calm, figured out the numbers, and changed the plan on the spot, got everyone out. My buddy said whoever ran that drill knew their stuff. Real operator thinking, not something you learn pushing papers. He takes a bite of his sandwich, chews slowly. Jade puts down her fork. That's a nice story, Senior Chief. What's your point? No point, Garrett shrugs. Just thinking about how weird it is when someone knows things they shouldn't. Like range rules, or how to handle an M4 like they've been doing it for years, or the exact way to spot sabotaged climbing equipment. Maybe I'm a fast learner, maybe. Garrett finishes his sandwich and stands. Or maybe you're exactly where you're supposed to be, doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And maybe Commander Dalton should be more careful about who he decides to mess with. He leaves, without waiting for a response. Jade sits alone as darkness covers the base. Her food forgotten, her mind working through plans and timelines. Garrett suspects. Ward notices. Dalton is pushing harder. Everything is moving according to plan. She just needs to keep up the act a little longer. That night, she returns to her room and finds her door unlocked. She didn't leave it that way. Jade enters carefully, looking around the small room. Nothing looks disturbed, but when she checks her personal things, she finds small differences. Her notebooks have been moved slightly. Her laptop shows signs of someone trying to access it. Unsuccessful, but the attempt was made. Someone searched her space. She doesn't report it. Instead, she adjusts her bandage, checks the hidden pocket inside her jacket where she keeps documents, and lies down, fully clothed. Her phone buzzes. Another group chat message. This one is a meme. An image of a paper airplane with her face edited onto it, with words saying, Jade Monroe. Tactical genius. 83 people have reacted with laughing emojis. Jade takes a screenshot, saves it to a growing folder of evidence, then sets the phone aside. In the darkness, she counts her breaths. 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out. It's a method designed for high-stress situations, for moments when control is the only thing standing between success and terrible failure. She learned it a long time ago in situations that don't officially exist, from instructors whose names are classified. Morning comes early. Jade is up before dawn, running around the base again, keeping the routine. But today is different. Today she's scheduled for a required fitness test, push-ups, sit-ups, run time. Standard evaluation for all workers. She reports to the testing area at 6 meg and finds Dalton waiting with a clipboard and a stopwatch. Morning, Lieutenant, he says, all professional now that witnesses are around. Ready to show us what you've got? Yes, sir. The push-up part goes first. Jade gets in position and waits for the command. When it comes, she does them with mechanical exactness. Back straight, full extension, controlled movement. She completes the required number +5, then stops. Good enough to pass, not good enough to raise questions. Sit-ups follow the same pattern. She completes the requirement with minimal extra effort, breathing steadily throughout. Then comes the run. 3 miles, measured course. Jade paces herself and finishes in the middle of the acceptable range. Solid performance, nothing spectacular. Dalton checks his stopwatch and makes a note. Adequate, he says. You'll receive your official score within 48 hours. Jade nods and starts to leave, but as she walks past, Dalton adds, I notice you've got a bandage on your wrist. She stops. Old injury, sir. Minor strain. Nothing that affects performance. Good, because if you're injured, we'll need paperwork, medical clearance, restricted duty forms, the whole process. Wouldn't want you working outside your limits. It's another trap. If she admits to an injury, she gets pulled from normal duties, isolated further, possibly sent for medical review. If she insists she's fine, he can use any future incident to claim she lied about her condition. I'm cleared for full duty, sir, she says. The bandage is just to be safe. If you say so, Dalton smiles. Dismissed. Jade walks away, feeling the weight of his attention. The wrist bandage has become a problem. She'll need to adjust her strategy. The rest of the morning passes in office boredom. But at 11:30, she's called to the security office. When she arrives, she finds Dalton waiting along with the base security officer, a stern-faced man named Lieutenant Commander Hayes. Lieutenant Monroe, Hayes begins. We've received a report of a security violation, specifically unauthorized access to classified training records. Jade's face doesn't change. I haven't accessed any classified material, sir. According to our logs, Hayes continues, pulling up a screen, your login was used yesterday evening at 7:47 to access restricted files in the training database. That's impossible, sir. I was in my room at that time. Can anyone verify that? No, sir. I was alone. Dalton leans against the wall, arms crossed, watching. Hayes types something and frowns at the screen. The access point shows Building 3, Terminal 7. That's the training office. You weren't there? No, sir. Then someone used your login without permission. That's a serious breach, Lieutenant. You are responsible for protecting your access codes. It's a setup. Someone, almost certainly Dalton, used her login to access files, creating a paper trail that blames her. Jade thinks through the options. Defending herself requires proving she was somewhere else, which she can't do without video footage. Asking for that footage means accusing Dalton indirectly, which gives him grounds to claim she's paranoid or disobedient. She chooses the third option, going along with it. I understand, sir. I'll change my login immediately and submit a security incident report. Hayes seems surprised by her lack of resistance. That's appropriate. Yes, do that. And, Lieutenant, be more careful. Security violations can end careers. Understood, sir. She's dismissed. As she leaves, she hears Dalton's voice, low and satisfied. Told you she was careless. Jade walks directly to the IT office, changes her password, submits the required paperwork. Then she returns to her room and spends the next hour carefully writing down every interaction she's had with Dalton since arriving on base. Times, locations, witnesses, exact words. The file grows large. When she's finished, she encrypts it and sends a copy to an external secure server, then deletes the local version. By the time she returns to her office for afternoon duties, word has spread. The security violation story has changed in the retelling. Now she's being investigated for spying, or selling secrets, or being so incompetent she can't manage basic password security. None of it's true, but truth doesn't matter when reputation is at stake. At 3:00, she gets an email. Subject line, Administrative Review Board. The message tells her that due to multiple performance and security concerns, she's being scheduled for a formal review to decide if she should continue at the training facility. The board will meet in 72 hours. If the decision goes against her, she'll be transferred immediately. Jade reads the email 3 times, then closes it. 72 hours. That's how long she has to let Dalton think he's won, to let him get comfortable, to let him make the final mistake that will bring everything crashing down. She spends the rest of the afternoon working with focused energy, processing paperwork, updating databases, making herself useful in the most boring ways possible. At 5:00, she heads to the motor pool for her scheduled vehicle inspection duty. It's routine work, checking maintenance logs, verifying equipment lists. She works alone in the far corner of the facility. Away from the main activity, that's when Dalton arrives. He doesn't announce himself, just appears in the doorway, backlit by the setting sun. Jade looks up from her clipboard, then goes back to her work. Lieutenant, he says, walking closer. I wanted to talk to you off the record. About what, sir? About making this easier on yourself. He stops a few feet away. The review board is just a formality. We both know how it'll go. But it doesn't have to be ugly. You can request the transfer yourself. Leave with your dignity. I'll even write you a decent recommendation for another post. Jade sets down her clipboard. Why would you do that, sir? Because despite what you might think, I'm not a monster. You're just in the wrong place. This facility needs people who understand field realities, not rules and paperwork. That's not an insult. It's recognition that different skills fit different jobs. It's almost convincing, the reasonable commander offering a graceful exit. Jade considers her response carefully. I appreciate that, sir, but I was assigned here for a reason. I'd like to complete my tour. Dalton's face hardens slightly. Even if that tour ends with a negative review. Even then, he studies her for a long moment, then shakes his head. Your choice, but you should know this could follow you. A negative review at a SEAL facility, that's a career killer. I'll take that risk, sir. Dalton turns to leave, then pauses. Out of curiosity, what are you really doing here, Lieutenant? Because I don't buy the office transfer story. Someone with your profile doesn't end up at a place like this by accident. Maybe you should ask whoever assigned me. Sir? Maybe I will. He walks away, leaving Jade alone among the vehicles and equipment. She waits until his footsteps fade, then pulls out her phone and sends a single encrypted text message. 3 words. Phase 2 initiated. The response comes within seconds. Proceed with caution. Jade deletes both messages, pockets her phone, and returns to her inspection. But her mind is already 3 moves ahead. Planning, thinking, waiting for the exact moment when silence becomes truth and weakness becomes undeniable strength. Evening settles over the base. Jade finishes her duties and heads toward her room. But as she walks through the motor pool, she notices Dalton's vehicle parked in the shadows near the maintenance bay. Something about the placement bothers her. It's not where officers typically park, and the angle suggests he didn't want it easily seen. She makes a mental note and continues walking. Tomorrow is when everything changes. Tomorrow, Dalton will push just hard enough, get just close enough to trigger the reveal he doesn't see coming. And when that moment arrives, when the carefully built fiction of Lieutenant Jade Monroe, paperwork-pushing office worker, finally breaks, the question won't be who she really is. The question will be how many others were part of what she's been investigating all along. The next morning arrives with heavy clouds, the kind that promise rain but never deliver. Jade completes her run in near darkness, returns to her room, and finds a printed notice slipped under her door. Mandatory equipment inspection, 8 a.m., motor pool. All workers assigned to office support. She reads it twice, notes the unusual timing. Equipment inspections typically happen during regular work hours. Then she dresses and reports as ordered. When she arrives, she finds Dalton waiting with 3 members of his team. No other office workers are present. The setup is immediately suspicious, but Jade keeps her neutral expression and stands at attention. Lieutenant Monroe, Dalton begins, walking a slow circle around her. We've had reports of missing equipment. Nothing major. Tools, maintenance supplies, the kind of thing that disappears when security gets lazy. I need you to open your vehicle for inspection. I don't have an assigned vehicle, sir. I use the motor pool as needed. Then we'll inspect the last one you signed out. Number 47, correct? Jade's mind races. She hasn't signed out vehicle 47 in 3 days. Someone changed the logs, but arguing will accomplish nothing. She nods. Yes, sir. They walk to the vehicle bay. Dalton produces keys, unlocks the driver's door, begins searching. His team watches with barely hidden excitement. They're expecting something, which means they planted something. Jade thinks through scenarios, illegal equipment, fake documents, anything that would justify immediate punishment. Dalton opens the center console, reaches inside, pulls out a small toolkit. He holds it up. This is restricted equipment. Serial number shows it belongs to the Special Operations Maintenance Facility. Want to explain how it ended up in your vehicle? I can't explain it, sir. I've never seen that toolkit before. Right, Dalton's smile is cold. Because equipment just appears on its own. Lieutenant, this is theft of government property. I'm placing you on immediate hold, pending investigation. You'll turn in your access card and return to your room under restriction. It's the move Jade has been waiting for. The overreach. The moment when Dalton's need to get rid of her outweighs his caution. She doesn't resist, doesn't argue, just removes her ID card and hands it over. Understood, sir. Petty Officer Chen will escort you back. You're not to leave your room except for medical emergencies. Clear? Yes, sir. Chen, a younger SEAL with uncertain eyes, points toward the exit. Jade walks ahead of him, keeping perfect military bearing despite the embarrassment of being marched across the base like a prisoner. They pass several groups of workers, all of whom stop to watch. By the time she reaches her room, the story will have spread. Lieutenant Monroe caught stealing, confined to room, career over, inside her room. Chen does a quick search, finds nothing interesting, then leaves. The door closes. Jade counts to 30, listening for footsteps to fade. Then she moves. First, she gets her backup phone from its hiding place inside a hollowed-out manual in her bookshelf. Second, She accesses the encrypted section and pulls up surveillance footage she's been collecting for the past week. Cameras she positioned during her office duties, tiny units placed in locations Dalton never thought to check. The motor pool, the training office, the security terminal. The footage from last night shows Dalton entering Vehicle 47 at 10 p.m., placing the toolkit in the console, then leaving. Clear planning, clear evidence of a setup, but Jade doesn't send it yet. Not until the trap is fully closed. She has about 6 hours before Captain Ward returns from his off-base meeting. 6 hours for Dalton to feel secure in his victory. 6 hours to let arrogance become carelessness. Outside, the base continues its routine. Jade watches through her window as workers move between buildings. Vehicles come and go. Helicopters land and take off. She's a ghost now, erased from the facility's daily operations, exactly where Dalton wants her, which means he'll lower his guard. At noon, her door opens without warning. No knock, no announcement. Dalton enters alone, closing the door behind him. His face looks professionally concerned, but his eyes hold something else. "Victory, Lieutenant," he says, sitting in the room's single chair. "I thought we should talk privately." Jade stands near the window, arms crossed. "About what, sir?" "About your options. The theft charge is serious. Court-martial serious. But it doesn't have to go that way. If you resign immediately, cite personal reasons, I can make this disappear. The toolkit gets returned. The paperwork gets lost. You leave with an honorable discharge, and if I don't resign..." Dalton's smile doesn't reach his eyes. "Then I proceed with charges. You'll be fighting this for months, maybe years. Even if you win, which you won't, your reputation is destroyed. No one in the Navy will touch you. It's the same game he's been playing, just with higher stakes." Jade measures her response carefully. "I need time to think about it. You have until 6 p.m. After that, I file the official report." He stands, moves toward the door, then pauses. "You know what? I don't understand why you're fighting so hard to stay somewhere you clearly don't belong. What's really going on, Lieutenant? What are you actually doing here?" Jade meets his eyes. "Maybe I just don't like bullies, sir." Dalton's face hardens. "Careful. You're already on thin ice," he leaves. Jade waits until his footsteps fade, then checks the time. 4 hours until Ward returns. 4 hours until she can activate the backup plan. 4 hours to keep up the act, just a little longer, but at 2 ARG, things speed up. Her door opens again. This time it's Chen looking uncomfortable. "Lieutenant, the commander wants you in the motor pool now. I'm under restriction. Orders changed." "Come on, something's wrong." Jade follows Chen across the base, noting the unusual quiet. The way workers seem to have cleared from certain areas. When they reach the motor pool, she finds Dalton waiting with his full team, 8 men, all in duty uniforms, all watching her with different degrees of hostility and curiosity. "Lieutenant Monroe," Dalton announces loud enough for everyone to hear. "I've reviewed the evidence, and frankly, things don't add up. You claim you never accessed that vehicle, yet your access card shows multiple entries. You claim you don't recognize the stolen toolkit, yet your fingerprints are on the case. So, I'm giving you one more chance to come clean. Tell us what you're really doing here and maybe I can help you. It's theater. Dalton is performing for his team, building a story where he's the reasonable authority and she's the dishonest outsider. Jade understands the play. More importantly, she understands he's made a critical error. He's gathering witnesses. The more people who see what happens next, the harder it will be for him to control the story afterward. "I have nothing to confess, sir." Dalton's jaw tightens. "Then explain this." He pulls out a tablet and shows her an image, security footage supposedly from the motor pool, showing a figure in duty uniform entering Vehicle 47. The timestamp matches Dalton's claim, but Jade has seen enough surveillance to know this footage is fake. "The quality is wrong." "The shadows don't match the lighting. The figure's movements have the slight jerkiness of edited video. That's not me, sir." "Who else would it be?" "Someone who needed it to be me." The words hang in the air. Several of Dalton's team members exchange looks. Even they recognize the suggestion that their commander might be framing someone. Dalton's face turns red. "You're accusing me of faking evidence. I'm saying that footage doesn't show what you claim it shows. Based on what knowledge? You're an office worker, not a forensic analyst. I can read a timestamp, sir. That footage claims to be from 10 Callas p.m., but if you look at the vehicle bay lighting in the background, it's clearly daytime. Night operations in the motor pool require extra lights. That footage doesn't have them. Silence. Dalton stares at the tablet, then at Jade. She's called his bluff in front of 8 witnesses using basic observation that any smart officer should have. If he backs down, he loses authority. If he pushes harder, he risks being exposed. He chooses to escalate. I've had enough of this, Dalton snaps. You think you're clever, finding little problems, quoting rules, playing word games. But the bottom line is simple. You're a problem. And I'm done putting up with it. He steps closer, invading her personal space, using his physical size to intimidate. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to resign today right now, or I'm going to make your life so miserable that you'll beg for a transfer. Jade doesn't step back, doesn't flinch, just keeps eye contact, breathing steady, 4 seconds in, 4 seconds hold, 4 seconds out. Dalton notices the breathing pattern, something flickering in his face, recognition maybe, or uncertainty. Who taught you that breathing technique? He asks suddenly. What technique, sir? The 4 count. That's a stress management method. Is Siri training? Where did you learn it? It's the question Jade has been waiting for. The moment when Dalton's curiosity beats his caution. She could dodge, could claim she read it in a manual. But the time for dodging is past. Same place you did, sir. The atmosphere changes. Dalton's team members tense, sensing something important just happened, but not understanding what. Dalton himself goes very still. What did you say? You asked where I learned the 4-count breathing method. I learned it the same place you did. Survival, evasion, resistance, escape. Standard training for anyone who operates in dangerous territory.